so much. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to start with our first question on functions. We are looking at solving questions on a hyperbola. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to look through the first question. You don't have to answer it as yet. If you feel confident answering it, go ahead and answer it. But please just look through the questions. And when you are done looking through the questions and you've formulated some kind of plan to answering them, then you can pop the little reading nerdy dude who looks a lot like me, I just realized, in the chat. Okay, I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to look through that. And then we can work through it together in about the next 3 to 4 minutes. It shouldn't take us that long to get through it. Thanks, Bogamos has already got 2 answers for us for 5.1.
That was quick.
That was very well, I mean, formulating a plan here. Hello, Ratizai. Thanks, Junior and Bogamos. Ratizai, if you've got answers for us, you can pop them in the chat as well. Or if you're too shy to put them in, then you can just wait until we're ready to answer the questions together, and we'll go through it together as we go. All right. Thank you, Amal and Diana. Sure, Dokozo is like moving lightning speed. He's already at 5.3. Well done. Sure, continue, guys. Don't wait for me. Just do what you got to do. In about the next minute, I'm going to start posting answers, and you guys can just compare your answers to mine, and we'll take it from there. All right, I'm going to start posting answers, folks. You guys can check your answers with mine. Okay. X is equal to -7. Therefore, x is equal to 702. So my x-intercept, I'm going to get 7, and now I'm writing 3 because Diana put 3 in the chat. Yep, that is a 2. And 0. Awesome, Faheen. Keep it up. Okay, and then I'm just going to do the y-intercept a little bit off to the... Yeah. Okay, y-intercept. X is equal to 0. And I've completely forgotten my y is equal to... Right here, y is equal to -1 over 0 minus 3 plus 2. And it's equal to 1 over 3 plus 2, which is equal to 7 over 3. And then the other e here is going to be 0 and 7 over 3. Okay, so 5.4, write down the coordinates of the y-intercept. Okay, so this is 5.4 here. Okay, guys, I'm just going to go off to the side quickly because what they've basically done here is they've given us all the information, or they've made us find all the information we could possibly need in order to draw this graph of f. So they've been very nice to you guys by making you do everything that you would possibly need to draw the graph. So I'm going to use all the information they've given me to draw the graph, and you guys can compare it to yours. I'm just going to go off to the left over here. Okay. Just going to move this over here. All right, I'm going to start with my asymptotes because that always makes it easier for me. My asymptote is that x is equal to 3. And y is equal to 2. I'm just going to remind everybody that I'm not Pablo Picasso, so my drawings are not going to be beautiful. I hope you guys know that. Okay, I know because my graph reads y is equal to -1 over x minus 3 plus 2, that my a is negative, so my graph will lie in the second and fourth quadrant. So it will be over here and over here because I have an x-intercept and a y-intercept. Let me just draw this one a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and this point over here is 0 and 7 over 3. This point over here, 7 over 2 and 0. All right, so this entire section, guys, was out of 10. You guys pop in the chat for me. How much did we get out of 10? Just make sure, have a look, see if your answers look something similar to mine, and tell me how much you would have gotten out of 10 from here. Junior said he got 9. I'm seeing a lot of 10 out of 10. That's excellent. Awesome, Junior. I hope we know where we kind of went wrong. Okay. Diana forgot the negative sign. All right, guys. Yes, Ntebogang, you can unmute and ask your question, my sweetie.
Ma'am, can I see the mark allocations? Because there's
Sure.
one I got wrong. I don't know how much to minus. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So there's the mark allocation. Guys, if we're getting anything over 8, then you guys are doing a great job and we're making just tiny mistakes. That means you understand the concept. We're just making tiny mistakes here and there. It's probably algebraic mistakes. Oh, Ntokozo forgot to draw the whole graph. Look at that. You missed out on 3 whole marks. Sure, dude, we need to read every single question. Make sure that we're not forgetting a single thing. Okay. Nomcebo 7 as well. I hope you guys are picking up on where we're making tiny mistakes, if at all. Okay. But guys, if you're getting anything above 7, you're doing a great job. That means you understand. So I'm happy with that. We just need to make sure it's a 10 out of 10, especially for section A questions. Make sure that we get as many marks as we possibly can in the section A part, because the section B part is going to require a bit more critical thinking. So we just make sure. That's okay, Ntokozo. It's a good thing we're making those mistakes here and not in the final exam. So we still have time to correct our mistakes before we get to the final exam. All right. Okay. Can I just get a thumbs up? Can I move on from question 5 so we can have a look at question 6? Diana says yebo, and I'm getting couple. Okay. Couple of thumbs up. Joshua's asking to see the solutions again. I'm just going to move over, guys. Give me a second. There you go, Joshua. I hope that helps. The graph as well. All right. Excellent. Joshua, I'm hoping you're just taking a screen grab, because we are going to have to move on. Yes, Nteboreng?
Ma'am, I always wondered, is it wrong if I draw my asymptotes in a color in the final?
No. The one thing that they will expect you to do, which I recommend, I don't know if they will, unless they've given you, if they give you a graph with numbers on it, then you will not particularly have to name your asymptote, but you should always make sure that your asymptote, like if your y asymptote is 2, you've written 2 there, and if your x asymptote is 3, that you've written 3 there, so that they can understand the difference between your y and your x asymptote. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Hi, Farine, how can I help, my sweetie?
Good afternoon, ma'am. I want
Afternoon.
to ask a question to do with the finals. Will there be like grade 11 revision graphs coming in the finals as well? Like, for content to remember?
Yes, so your matric year basically started in grade 10, my sweetie. So a lot of stuff that you learn from grade 10 all the way to matric is going to be somehow incorporated. Remember, in grade 10, we start the basics, and in grade 11, it gets a little bit harder. And in grade 12, you guys do like this much work. But that's because you've done most of your matric work in grade 11, and we're just kind of adding into everything. Okay.
Yes,
so we do need to know our grade 11 work.
No, I'm just asking because but my grade 11 was very fragile because of my change of teacher and all those things. But I'm okay, I'm coping, but still it was a bit of a rough year for me actually last year.
That's okay, Master. Listen, if you can even try the grade 11 papers as well as the grade 12 papers, because the grade 11 papers will reinforce a lot of what you need to learn for grade 12, because it's just like a mixed match of everything. So grade 11 will solidify everything and then the grade 12 papers will just push you over the edge. Okay. I hope
Thank you, ma'am, so much for your advice. Thank you.
No worries. Okay. All right. Let's look at question 6 quickly. All right. So I want to give you guys the option, especially with this question, because it's a log question. Would you guys like to give it a try by yourselves, or would you like us to do it together? So you guys can let me know in the chat what you would like to do. Just going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, I'm getting quite a few together pleases in the chat, so we can have a look at it together. Okay. And just want to position myself here properly. Okay, Adam wants to try alone. So Adam, you know what I'm going to ask you to do, my sweetie? I'm going to ask you to just maybe mute your computer and like turn it to the side a little bit and try the questions. Just have a peek at the questions and look at them. Diana's like, we're all in this together. Now you're taking out the cheesy side of me. No, let's not go there. Okay, we're going to try it together. We're going to try it together. If you want to try it by yourself, I suggest, guys, just take a quick screen grab and then go away from the Zoom meeting and have a look at the questions on your own, and then come back and have a look at what we've got here. All right. So let's have a look at number one, or we're going to read the question together first so we make sure we understand what we're looking at. It says, the graph of f of x is equal to log to the base of 4, and that base of 4 is very important. Okay, that's okay, because we're going to work together. Okay, the base of 4 is very important, so it's the log of base 4x is drawn below. And then they give us a point. They tell us that b is k, and we realize that k is actually our x value, and 2 is our y value. And that's very important for what we need to do next. Okay, is a point on f. Now it says calculate the value of f. Cleopatra's already put an answer in the chat for us. She says k is 16. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how we get to 16. Remember, when we're looking at the idea of a log function, we're looking at y is equal to log 4 of x. Okay, we know that our x value is k, as they say here in the letter b. So we're going to sub in the point b, which is k and 2. So our x is going to become k, and our y will become 2. So we'll have 2 is equal to log 4 of k, and then we're going to solve for k from here. Okay, now, if we look at the idea of a log function, guys, what a log function is actually doing is giving me the exponent as the answer. So if I have log base 2 of 8, and my answer is 3, what this is actually telling me is the base of my number is 2, the exponent of my number is 3, and the answer will be 8. That's what it's telling me. So this is the base, this is the answer, and this is the exponent. Okay, that's what it's telling me. This is the answer here. Okay, so if I have, let me write another one quickly. If I have log of base 5, if my answer is 25, what is my exponent going to be? It's going to be 2, because 5 to the power of 2 is going to give me 25. Okay, my base to my exponent is going to give me my answer. And that's how we interpret log functions. So what we're going to do here is we're going to reinterpret this, and we're going to look at it. This is my exponent. This over here is my exponent. This is my base, which means I have 4, my base 4 to the exponent 2 is going to equal to my answer, which is k. Therefore, k is equal to 16. And if you got 16, then you're spot on, because that's exactly how we interpret a log function. Okay, excellent. Diana, I'm glad you're seeing it. I hope the rest of you are seeing it as well. That's how we get that k is equal to 16. Awesome stuff. All right, now 5.2 says, determine the values of x for which f of x is between -1 and 2. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our function of f of x, and we're going to replace f of x with -1, and we're going to replace f of x with 2. So we're going to do the exact same thing we did over here, just with different numbers. So we're going to look at f of x. This is 5.1, and I'm going to start writing everywhere. I don't know how Teacher Lee does it. It gets really difficult to pick a space to write in. Okay, I'm going to write up here. Sorry, guys. 5.2. So I'm going to look at f of x is equal to log of 4 to the x. And I want my y to be equal to -1 because I'm looking for x. So I'm going to replace f of x with -1, which is equal to log 4 of x. Remember, this is my base and this is my exponent, and that is my answer. So I'm going to have 4 to the power -1 is equal to x. Therefore, x is equal to 1/4. Then I'm going to replace my f of x with 2. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go 2 is equal to log base 4 of x, and that's going to give me 4 to the power of 2 is equal to x. Therefore, x will be equal to 16. Okay, so now that means My values for x, where my y lies between -1 and 2, will be 1/4 is smaller than or equal to x, which is smaller than or equal to 60. And that's the answer we're looking for. All right, can I get a thumbs up? Are we okay with the concept of changing our log into a base exponent function? Does that make sense to you guys? Diana says yes, awesome. Junior, this is what we're here for, so we can make sure you guys understand. Excellent. Awesome stuff, guys. Okay. You're very welcome. No worries, Farhin. Okay, let's explain it again. Remember, I want to write off to the side so that I don't disturb what we're doing here. Okay, let me go over here to the side. Okay, so we've got two values, okay, that our y needs to be in between. It needs to be in between -1 and 2. That's our f of x. But now we're going to substitute our f of x with y in our function. So this is actually y. I remember, though, that y is equal to the log base 4 of x. This is my y value that I want. This is the y value that I want, and it's going to give me an x value. And this is the other y value I want that's going to give me an x value. So I'm going to replace y with -1, and that's going to give me -1 is equal to log to the base 4 of x. Now, remember, Farhin, the x is my answer. This is the answer I'm going to get if I punch something into the calculator. What am I punching into the calculator? My base is 4, and my exponent is -1. So if I have base 4 to the exponent, -1, that is going to give me x. That's going to give me my answer. So 4 to the power of -1 is the same thing as 1/4. Therefore, x is equal to 1/4. So I know that for my y values, I'm going to have x values over here. And on this side of -1 for my y values, my x values are going to be between 1/4 and x. Now I have to do the same for 2 on the other side of 2 as well. So, and I need more space. I think I'm writing too big, Teacher Nelly, so I don't know what's going on with me and running out of space all the time. I'll see if I can write a little bit smaller. I will try. Okay, so remember, my function is y is equal to log of x. Remember, my base is 4. Now I'm going to replace my y with 2 because that's where I'm trying to get in between. So I'm going to write 2 is equal to log base 4 to the power of, to the answer, which is x. Now this, again, okay, I will try and zoom out just a little bit. Let me see. Okay, gets a little smaller and I don't know if I'll be able to write. Okay, this is the answer that I would get. Answer. This is my base. And this is my exponent. Okay, so I'm going to get my base 4 to the exponent 2 is going to give me my answer, which is x. Therefore, x will be equal to 16. Okay, Farhin, I hope that answers your question. And that's how we get that our x values are between 1/4 and 60. Okay, that's the answer that we got over here. All right. Okay, I'm just, no worries, my sweetie. That's what I'm here for. All right, I want us to answer the next question. I know, Cleopatra, that you asked me to zoom out, but I'm going to have to zoom back in so we can see the next question. Okay, so the next question says, write down the equation of f to the -1, or in this case, the inverse of x. Okay, are we familiar with how to do inverses, guys? I just want to make sure we're okay with doing inverses. Okay, I'm seeing quite a few yeses. I want you guys to try this one. Remember, the log is going to change into exactly what we just did. We're going to look at our base, and the answer is our exponent, and whatever's next to our base, that's the answer we're going to get. So the base to the exponent is x. Okay. So try it. Remember, when we do the inverse, we're going to take our x and our y, and we're going to swap them around and then solve for it. Okay, I'm going to do mine on the side while you guys try yours. I'm going to do mine a little bit further down. Let me move some of the stuff. This is what we're going to do next. Move this down a little. Okay. There we go. All right. And I can write here 6.3. Oratile, you are right on the money. Well done. Y is equal to log base 4 x, and then I'm going to swap them around. So I'm going to get x is equal to log base 4 of y. And then remember, y is going to be my answer. This is my answer over here. Okay. Therefore, 4, my base to my exponent, is equal to y. And that's my function. So I can rewrite y as f to the minus 1 of x. The inverse of x is equal to 4 to the power of x. There we go. Excellent. I can see many of you guys are just like getting it. Awesome, awesome stuff, guys. Well done. Excellent. All right. Now we have to look at 6.4. And guys, remember, can I just encourage you to stay muted just so we can keep the quiet of the room a little bit? Okay. Cleopatra says, for which values of x will x times the inverse of x be equal to 0? Or be less than 0, not equal to 0. Cleopatra says x is less than 0. Cleopatra, are you confident enough to unmute and explain to everyone how we got to the answer x is less than 0? I'll wait for your response with bated breath. Okay, maybe not, but I'm going to explain it in a way that some people might, okay, we might get a bit more understanding. And I'm going to thank teacher Neliswa for this one, because she also explained it to me in a way that makes so much more sense. And it's much easier for me to explain it to you. So we want values of x, guys. And we also want values multiplied by the inverse of x. And we remember that the inverse of x is 4 to the power of x. So if I plot the graph of 4 to the power of x, I'm going to make x 0, just so I can get a value for y. If I make x 0, x is equal to 0, my y is going to equal to 1. Okay, I hope we're in agreement. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So the point of my exponential graph, because this is an exponential graph, is going to be 0 and 1, just there. Then my exponential graph is going to do this. Yeah. Okay. That's what's happening. Now, in order for me to get anything less than 0, when we say something is less than 0, what kind of answer is that, guys? Is it a positive or a negative answer? If anything is less than 0, it will be negative. Good, Cassandra. Good. If it's less than 0, it will be negative. Now, if I look at the x values that I need, okay, Ntokozo, okay, what I've drawn here, remember we looked for, let me erase this a little bit here. Okay. What we looked for earlier was the inverse of the function, right? And we found that it was equal to 4 to the power of x. Okay. Are you with me there? So what I've actually done here, this is me drawing the function of 4 to the power of x. I've drawn it. Okay, that's what I've done. Now, the question over here, down here at the bottom says, we are looking for values of x for which x times the inverse of x is going to give us a number less than 0 or answers less than 0. Now, if we look at my x values, guys, what's happening to my x values over here? What kind of x values do I have? What kind of x values do I have over here? If this is my origin over here. Good, Jocelyn. Good. My x values are negative. Right. So in order for this part over here to be negative, if these values for x are negative, and I want negative times something to be equal to negative, what do my answers for my inverse have to give me? What kind of answers do they need to give me? Negative times something is going to give me a negative. Guys, what would that thing be? Good, Amal gets it. They need to be positive answers. So negative times positive will give me a negative. Excellent, Karabo gets it. So it'll be -1 all the way to infinity. And that's why Cleopatra says that all my values of x need to be less than 0, because it will be all the values, all my y values for this graph will be here. And these will be positive over there. And all my x values over here will be negative. So my x values, because they're asking for which values of x, my x values need to be less than 0 because they are negative. Okay. Do we understand that concept? Okay. If you look at it graphically, it makes a lot more sense. And remember, this thing is worth 2 marks. So we can't be doing 6 million calculations just to get to the answer. We need to be able to look at it graphically and be like, oh, what they're asking me is for a negative answer. Okay, what we would write, okay, let me move down. What we would actually write over here, they will accept the answer if you just say that x is less than 0. You will get your 2 marks. But if you're trying to rationalize it, you can say x multiplied by 4 to the power of x will be less than 0. Therefore, your x values need to be less than 0. You can write that down, and that'll be the answer that they will accept. Okay. Because now you're expressing this part in terms of what they've given you. Okay. Does that make sense, Karabo? I hope that makes sense. Yes, Cassandra.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, Cassandra.
Ma'am, I know that this is not part of the question, but how do you write the domain of our inverse?
The domain of your inverse. Just look at the graph itself. Okay. So I know that I'm not going to get a negative, I'm not going to get a negative y value, right? So that means that my x-axis then becomes my asymptote. This is an asymptote here, right? So my domain will be all my x values because they go all that way and all that way. My range, however, will be all the values above. So my domain will be x is an element of all real numbers because I can get it anyway, but my range will be y is an element of all real numbers, but it must be greater than 0. That's my domain and my range. Okay. I hope that makes sense, Cassandra. Okay. My x values will keep going in the left and in the right direction. They'll keep going. It's my y values that will have an asymptote. Okay. Just like any exponential graph. Okay, excellent. All right, are we ready for a little more? Let's do another function. I'm kind of getting into this. I didn't think I'd get into it this much, but yeah, you guys are awesome. Having so much fun. All right, let's look at the smiley graph that we've got down here. Okay. All right, remember guys, it's quite important for us to read all the information we have before we get started. So have a look at the information that they give you at the top because it makes for a lot of what we need to do in our questions themselves. And I'm wishing there was a different way for me to display this that doesn't make it weird. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys to just have a look at this quickly. Let's have a look at the questions. I think I know what I need to do. I'm going to do that quickly. Just set this back. Okay. Cool. Okay. After a while, guys, after you've looked at all of this, I will move over to the right and we'll be able to see the mark allocation. Okay. This is 7.3, this is 7.4 over here, and this last one over here is 7.5. Okay. I'll give you guys a few minutes to go through this one. Remember, guys, if you have any questions, that's the whole reason why we're here, to make sure you guys are at ease by the time you're done with this. Sure, Junior, I just want everybody to have a look at the question first and make sure they understand it. And then I'm going to move over to the right so you can see the mark allocation. Okay, in just a second. Okay, I'm getting it. I second Junior, so I am going to move over a little bit. Okay, there we go. There is our mark allocation. Excellent, Spesihle. I think you've got the right idea there. I'm going to start putting answers in the chat in the next 2 minutes, guys. Let's make it 1 minute. It looks like you guys are with it today. You guys know exactly what's going on. Awesome, guys. Keep at it. Luto, be a little bit careful about how you're expressing that, my sweetie. Okay. I will try. Let me see if I can. Maybe that'll give us a bit more space. Sipo, you're a lot smarter than I am at the moment. See, I knew somebody. Guys, I'm old. Me and technology, we're not friends. There we go. Thank you, Sipo. You saved us all. Yes, Diana, that's correct. Yes, Diana, well done. Okay, I'm going to start putting answers in the chat. On the page, not in the chat. That's what you guys are doing. Good, Luto, yeah. Excellent. I'm glad we caught that. 7.1, because it's already kind of been. We can just equate it to 0, then we know we're going to get x is equal to -4. X is equal to 6. We know that our b is negative, so -4 and 0. And d is 6 and 0. There we go. All right, I think everybody managed to get 7.2. It was pretty easy. Okay, calculate the coordinates of C. Now, you could, if you didn't like yourself very much, you could complete the square. But let's not do that because that will take us exactly, Cleopatra, it's the turning point. If you complete the square, that would then give you the y value because it'll tell you how far your graph would want to go. But we can just use the turning point formula. We can just use x is equal to negative b over 2a. And that's going to give us that x is equal to, but before we can do that, we then have to factor this out. So we're going to take f of x is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 24, right? And then I know that my negative b is negative minus 2, which is positive 2 over 2 times 1, which is 2. Therefore, my x is equal to 1. Okay. Diana, I'm realizing now that you've written negative 1. Look at where your c is. It's on my positive side of my graph. Okay, so it should be 1. Okay, no worries, my sweetie. Okay, and then I'm going to take y, and I'm going to sub x in because we know that it's 1. So it's 1 squared minus 2 minus 24, which is equal to 1 minus 2 is minus 1, minus 24 is negative 25. So my coordinates for C are positive 1 and negative 25. There we go. Ooh, Ntokozo, have a look again how we did that. Well done, Tracy. Amazing stuff. Awesome. All right. Let's write down the domain of F, or the range, not the domain. Sorry. What is the range of F, guys? An easy 1-mark question. What do we have for the range of F? Okay, you can write it either in set builder notation or you can write it in interval notation. Okay, you can do that. And then our y needs to be greater than or equal to 25, or negative 25. Not positive 25, negative 25. Let me fix that. Okay, there we go. All right. And this one is quite easy. Well done, Junior. And Diana as well. And Cleopatra, 100%. But remember, if you're going to write it in interval notation, we're including negative 25 because that is our actual turning point at C. So we need to do that. Negative 25 square brackets. And then the infinity has the round brackets. Karabo, can I ask you to unmute, my sweetie, and tell me which part I'm re-explaining? Or pop it in the chat if you're feeling a little shy. Hi, Karabo. Hello.
I think he meant the part about the range of F.
The range of F. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So the range of F over here, and sorry, my screen is being funny. Okay. We know that we're going to look at it as all real numbers, right? But my graph cannot go beyond this point. Okay. There's nothing of my graph beyond this point. And we just figured out what this point is, this turning point over here. We know that our X value is 1 and our Y value is negative 25. Now our range speaks specifically of our Y values. And I'm not going to get any other Y value lower than negative 25 because that's the turning point. As soon as we get to negative 25, my graph starts going back up. So I can say that my Y is an element of all real numbers except Y needs to be anything above or equal to negative 25. That's why we're saying that Y is greater than or equal to negative 25. Negative 25 going up. You get what I mean there? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's best to use the inequality rather than the elements just say y is greater or equal to -25.
Yes, I know. Yeah, integral notation does get kind of tricky a little bit, especially
Yeah.
with all the square brackets and round
Because
brackets.
once you
And
use a round bracket for the -25, because it's included, and then you lose marks.
you're
So
gonna
just
lose
say
your
y
mark.
is greater or equal to -25.
Yes, that's exactly what you can do. I'm just very, very pedantic. I like everything to be in order because I don't want anybody to cheat me. I'm not there when they mark my paper, so I want to put everything in. But you can easily leave this one out. Cleopatra, if you're comfortable with the one that I just rubbed out, go ahead and use it. But I think you can even do that, and you would still get your mark. Even if you just wrote y is greater than or equal to -25, they will give you your full mark because you understand that we're looking at the y values. Okay, it won't be a problem at all. Okay, awesome stuff. All right, can we continue? Let's look at 7.4, guys. Okay, it says, given that theta, and you guys can see theta, it's that little angle there from our straight line, is 14.04 degrees, and the tangent of f at t is perpendicular, guys. The amount of information they give you is so important. When we think about a tangent and they give us an angle, what are we automatically thinking about? What is the tangent and the angle going to give us? How are we going to use the tangent? Excellent, Amal. The tangent and the angle is going to give us the gradient. Do we remember the formula for gradient? Excellent. I feel like Amal is the only one trying to like wake our brains up to what we did in analytical geometry a while back. Okay, the gradient is equal to tan of the angle theta. Thank you, Amal. There we go. The gradient is equal to tan of the angle theta. All right, excellent. Now they say something, and remember, we're still looking at gradients, guys. We're talking about gradients, okay? And they say something about t being perpendicular. Now, Precious has already gone all the way and found out the gradient for us. Well done. Good. And Diana's got the right idea. When we think of gradients and gradients being perpendicular, what do we think of? Think analytical geometry, guys. I know that M1 multiplied by M2 is going to equal to, the gradients when multiplied to each other need to give me -1. Diana, you are on the money. Well done, Itumeleng. We know this. So somehow, as we're going through this question, all of the stuff that we figured out from the information they gave us is going to come up. Okay, and it's important for us to be in that mindset as we go through these kind of questions, because they're not giving you that information just for decoration, I promise, guys. You're going to use it somewhere. Okay, Fahim, -1 is not the answer, my sweetie. -1 is if we have two perpendicular gradients, when we multiply, the product of those two perpendicular gradients must give us -1. And we learned this in analytical geometry. I hope you remember. Okay, then it says to us, calculate the gradient of AE, right? And lucky for us, we know it's worth 1 mark, so there isn't that much work to be done here. Okay, calculate the gradient of AE, correct to 2 decimal places. So we know we've got our angle, and our angle is going to give us the gradient that we need because they want the gradient. So gradient, and I'm going to write 7.4.1 over here. My gradient is going to equal to tan of my angle, which is 14.04 degrees. And I think Pielo went and put the shift tan. Pielo, we only put shift tan in if we want to find out what the angle is. Okay, but they have given us the angle. So all you have to do is go into your calculator and type in tan of 14.04, and that's going to give you 0.25. No worries, my dude. That's how we learn. That's how we learn. Okay. It's okay, guys. Okay, I actually, and my kids laugh at me all the time. every time we need to look for an angle, we need to click shift. Okay, so I call it a shift angle, and they make fun of me all the time. I call it a shift angle, and I tell them it's a new TikTok dance. I'm going to make a trend, guys. Watch me. I call it a shift angle. And every time I hear the word shift angle, or somebody says, calculate the angle, I remember the shift angle, and then I have to click shift in order to find the angle. I'm going to make a trend, guys. Watch me. I'm going to find I can't dance to save my life, but I am going to figure out a TikTok dance that has shift angle in it, guys. I'm going to be a TikTok star. I promise you guys. Diana, I won't forget about you. You guys are my inspiration. Thank you, guys. Awesome. All right. Okay. We can collab. Absolutely. We'll teach math. Somehow we'll be sine, cos, tan, shift, tangle. You guys, you know. Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. Okay. All right, guys. Let's get back to the maths. All right. So I can rewrite the gradient of 0.25 as 1/4. It's exactly the same thing. And it's going to look a little bit neater because then I am looking for the gradient, which means, and I've got a straight line. So at a point, I am going to be looking for, the equation of a straight line. Now I've got TikTok dances stuck in my head. I should be focusing. All right, I'm going to be looking for the equation of a straight line. Now they say to me, calculate the coordinates of t, right? But now this is worth 5 marks, guys. It's worth 5 marks. So there's quite a lot of work to be done here. Okay. Diana, so do I, actually. I also have to leave soon, unfortunately. 6 o'clock is my cutoff time. I've got another class we need to go to, my sweetie. Okay, that's okay. Remember, the recording is available, and if you need to go through it again, you're more than welcome. Okay. All right, so 5 marks worth. So we're going to be doing quite a bit of work, guys. Okay, and I think this is the last question we're going to be able to do, and I'll ask Teacher Lee to finish off 7.5 with you guys. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at where T is, and you guys will notice they've told us, good, see, Junior's got the right idea. We're going to look at the gradient of TB. Now, they've told us that the gradient of AE is 1/4, or we've just calculated that it's 1/4. But they tell us that T is perpendicular to AE. What does that tell me? What does that tell me about the gradient of the line where T is? Okay, bye-bye, Diana. It was great having you with us in class. Okay, so if, and I'm just going to draw a quick line, it's probably going to be terrible because my drawing skills. Okay, so now I have a line over here and it's going to touch T. It's going to touch T there. We know that the gradient of this line is 1/4. We've just calculated that it's 1/4. And they tell us over here that T is perpendicular. What does this then tell me about the gradient of this line? Otwanetse, you've got the correct idea. And Ntokozo, 100%. You guys are on the money. That means the gradient of the line where T is going to be -4. Excellent. You guys are with me. Right. So I can then use the point. I hope I'm not losing my mind. Okay. I can then use the gradient of -4 to find. Can you just answer Rilwele for me, please, Teacher Neliswa, so that we don't lose out on time here? Okay, I'm going to use that gradient of -4 to figure out, let me move down. Okay, to figure out what happens over here. Now, I have my function. My function is y is equal to x² minus 2x minus 24. And now if I've got the gradient of the straight line that touches my graph, guys, what does that tell me about the gradient that touches that graph? How do I find the gradient of this particular graph? How would I find the gradient? Yes, Junior, you are on the money. How are we going to find the gradient of the graph? Yes, Ntokozo, we're going to use the derivative. Absolutely. We're going to find the derivative of y. So we're going to look for the derivative of y, which is going to give us 2x minus 2. But then because it's not a straight line, that derivative is not equal to 0. It's equal to the gradient at that point. What is the gradient at that point? We've just calculated it's -4. So this y value, the gradient of that, or the derivative of that value is going to give me the gradient at -4. So I'm going to have 2x minus 2 is equal to -4. I then can use this to calculate for the value of x. Okay, and I know I'm rushing this a little bit. We're just a little bit out of time, but I hope you guys understand, okay, that if I want the gradient of this point over here, right, I know that that line over there is going to have a gradient of 0, right? It's going to have a gradient of 0 because it's straight. It's a straight line. And if I find the derivative, I'm going to have to equate it to 0. But my t is sitting at an angle over there, and they've given me the gradient of t. We've worked it out. Okay. I'm not sure what your name is because it says M Shark here. Remember, we figured out that the gradient of AE is equal to 1/4. And they're telling us that t is perpendicular. So the gradient of t is perpendicular to the gradient of, or the line t, not the gradient, sorry. The line where t is perpendicular to the line where AE is. And we know that the gradient of t multiplied by the gradient of AE, according to analytical geometry, needs to equal to -1. So now if our gradient of AE is already -1, or sorry, 1/4, okay? If my gradient of AE is already 1/4, I can calculate for the gradient of t. Okay, I hope that makes sense, M Shark here. Okay.